In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory from France for $15 million. This unprecedented transaction doubled the size of the United States and laid a strong foundation for our nation's growth and prosperity. Let's take a closer look at how this massive purchase impacted American history. The purchase doubled the size of the United States and brought a wealth of potential to both sides. Let's take a closer look at how the Louisiana Purchase impacted both countries. The background of the Louisiana Purchase. At that time, the United States was still in its infancy, with just 15 states in existence. To make matters more complicated, France controlled most of North America west of the Mississippi River, known as Louisiana, while Spain held claim to Spanish Florida, east of Mississippi. After Napoleon Bonaparte seized control of France in 1799, he began looking to unload some of his overseas possessions, which included Louisiana, in order to raise money for his military expansion efforts. President Jefferson was eager to purchase Napoleon's holdings as soon as possible, so he dispatched Robert Livingston and James Monroe to Paris with orders to negotiate a deal. In April 1803, they successfully negotiated an agreement with Napoleon to purchase 828,000 square miles of land for $15 million, roughly 4 cents per acre. The resulting treaty was ratified by Congress on October 20 and later signed into law by President Jefferson on October 30, thus cementing one of America's most consequential foreign policy decisions in history. Napoleon's decisions. Napoleon came to power shortly after the French Revolution and found himself in a precarious position. His country was dealing with financial problems caused by years of war and political instability. In addition, France was engaged in a fierce naval war with Britain, which was costing them money and resources. To make matters worse, Britain had recently gained control of much of their colonial empire in India and threatened more conquests elsewhere. The cost of maintaining Louisiana. Maintaining Louisiana posed an even bigger problem for Napoleon because it was costly to keep up with its upkeep. The territory itself had little economic value for France. The only real benefit they got out of it were trading rights along the Mississippi River, so it simply wasn't worth the cost or effort to maintain it anymore. As such, Napoleon decided that selling off Louisiana would be better than keeping it under his control. A new alliance with America. Finally, there was another factor that contributed to Napoleon's decision. He wanted to form a new alliance with America against Britain. By selling Louisiana to the U.S., he hoped he could create an advantage over Britain while also bringing in some desperately needed money for his cash-strapped country. It's worth noting that at this time, both countries were still relatively new nations and were eager to expand their reach and influence on the world stage. The impact of the Louisiana Purchase. The Louisiana Purchase drastically changed the course of American history by doubling our nation's size overnight. It provided much-needed access points for Americans wishing to move westward and opened up vast new territories for settlement and economic development. This acquisition also enabled our young nation to gain a foothold in international trade markets and expand its influence around the world, allowing us to become one of today's foremost superpowers. Perhaps the most obvious benefit of the Louisiana Purchase was that it more than doubled the size of America. Prior to 1803, all American territory east of the Mississippi River had been part of either British or French colonies. With this purchase, however, America suddenly gained 825,000 square miles, 2,140,000 square kilometers, worth of land stretching from New Orleans in the south all the way up to Canada in the north. This new land provided an abundance of resources and opportunities for growth in areas such as farming and shipping. It also gave America access to important ports like New Orleans, which allowed large-scale trade with Europe and Asia. The impact on France. For France, striking a deal with America meant getting rid of a financial burden, and quickly. At this point in history, France was facing serious political instability due to a series of wars with Britain and other European powers over colonial territory in North America. By selling Louisiana back to America for such a high price tag, about 4 times what Napoleon paid for it in 1800, France was able to get out from underneath its debt load more quickly than if it had tried to keep control over North American colonies, which were proving costly and problematic to maintain. The cession of Louisiana was kept secret for over a year. France feared that Louisiana would become British. As a result, France sought to preempt any actions that Britain would undertake if it became known that Louisiana no longer enjoyed French protection before the Spanish were able to occupy and defend it. Great Britain officially conceded Spanish ownership of Louisiana in February 1763 in one of the series of treaties ending the French and Indian War. This gesture was a mere formality, for the territory had been in Spanish hands for almost 3 months. The Louisiana Purchase is often referred to as one of President Thomas Jefferson's greatest accomplishments during his tenure in office. By negotiating a successful deal with France, he altered the course of American history forever by ushering in an era where exploration, settlement, and economic development were no longer bound by geographic borders or political boundaries. For that reason alone, it is easy to see why this monumental purchase continues to shape our nation's future today.